Welcome back, everybody. Today's video is going to be a meta update. You know, we gave you the patch note review right when it came out, but today we're just going to be talking about a little bit of what's been happening in the shift ever since the big nerfs came out and a few small buffs around there. So let's go ahead and get started. So first and foremost, we're just going to start off with my updated carry hero tier list. For me, not too much changed, except for the fact that the gyro nerfs, especially, and the Naga nerfs, I feel like over time have demoted these heroes from being first roundable. I feel like every time I see Gyrocopter get first rounded now, he's losing, and his win rate in my bracket is actually below 50%, but I think it's because people are picking him too early in the draft. Like, people haven't adjusted to the point where they, like, this hero's no longer just first pickable, slam it every single game, but he's still very strong. So I have him up top, despite the fact that his win rate is not reflecting of him being a broken hero. And then on top of that, the only hero I've left in the S tier is Sven. This is a hero that I do see first rounded in pubs, and it's still rocking like a 52% win rate. So what we're seeing here is that even though, you know, Sven did get slightly worse, he's the only carry, in my opinion, that you can pick in the first round and feel comfortable that you're not putting yourself at a significant disadvantage. His game plan is just simply too reliable right now. Now, if you've watched me on stream, I've been bashing Phantom Assassin because I really don't like the way that this hero operates. But at the same time, I'm not going to deny that it works. You know, at my bracket, she's rocking a 50% win rate. Across all other brackets, it's definitely far above 50%. And the way I view Phantom Assassin is, you know, I do have a guide on PA talking in depth about her if you'd like to know more. But the thing about it is she doesn't really do much for the first like 20 minutes. She's like a decent laner, but from like 12 to 20 minutes, she's just hitting creeps. And she doesn't take towers. She doesn't like pressure anywhere. She doesn't generally want to fight. And so I see games where she's pretty much always at a disadvantage unless they like stomp the lanes. And so you end up in this situation where you're winning against PA and then she wins one crazy team fight against you because you didn't focus her and she gets a rampage. And then she wins. And for me, it's snooze because this is a hero that punishes people who mess up, basically. And if you're clean and you hit your timings, PA generally doesn't get a chance to play the game. But the second you mess up once, kind of like the carry equivalent of Tinker, the game gets out of hand very quickly. She has an Axe Scepter, potentially even like a Rapier, and then she's just murdering everybody. So, but that is where she's at. I think she's very strong, and if you like playing PA, or even if you don't like playing her, this is definitely the patch to get it down. So I've moved Luna up a bit in my tier list. She's a similar hero, in my opinion, to Sven and Gyro. A hero that rapidly clears creep waves very early, jungles very fast, and hits like a 3 or 4 item timing where she's kind of unstoppable. So what I've been doing with Luna personally is going Mask of Madness into Manta and either 3rd or 4th item Ag Scepter with all of the Eclipse talents and the Moonglaive reduction talent at level 10. So my idea of Luna is that she's a slightly worser version of Sven, and she's a Gyrocopter that in the mid to late game has her own Ag Scepter that allows her to be a backliner rather than be like Gyrocopter who plants himself right in front. And she also naturally buys Dispels. So I think she's better than Gyrocopter in games where you don't necessarily have the ability to frontline mid to late game. And also they have heroes like Invoker that go earns with Cold Snap or other heroes with silences that need to be dispelled, because Gyrocopter tends to struggle immensely against dispels because he usually goes like Falcon Blade, Crystallis into Ags, then Satanic. So for like the first 20-25 minutes of the game, he has no way to get rid of all these annoying silences, slows, Spirit Vessels, etc. So that's when I think Luna is better than Gyrocopter. Muerta with the buff, I've moved her up to B tier. I think she's pretty solid. I've seen her a decent amount in my games, but by no means is she, you know, one of the top class heroes of the patch. That's about it for what I've seen so far in my carry hero tier list for pubs. But now I'd like to talk about some other things that I've given you guys meta updates on. As you guys may very well know, I made a Blade Mail hero tier list at the start of this patch. So Blade Mail was absolutely rampant in all the pubs, and it didn't get nerfed in 7.34b. So not much has really changed in regard to what the item does. But I'd like to talk about a few reasons why Blade Mail is falling out of popularity. So first and foremost, something that happened during 7.34 and only got fixed about a week ago was that Soul Ring was bugged. Soul Ring was bugged where it would give you the temporary mana when you used it, but if you didn't use that mana, it wouldn't subtract the mana at the end of the duration. So Soul Ring was effectively like 7 mana regen if you just spammed it. And that actually enabled a lot of offlaners to just go Blade Mail Soul Ring with no other mana items and then have mana to fight with like Soul Ring, Blade Mail, and a Heart of Tarask that allowed you to fight with just an 800 gold item giving you all the mana in the world. So I think that that was something that actually contributed to Blade Mail being so prominent in comparison to something like an Echo Saber or other like mana regen aura items like Vlad's or something like this for offlaners and mids. So ever since that's gotten changed, I've seen people stray away from Soul Ring, Blade Mail on a lot of different heroes like Dawnbreaker. On top of that, what Blade Mail was doing, and you guys heard it in my Blade Mail video, it was an item that allowed you to farm. Basically saying, like, if you gank me, then you're just going to die trying to kill me, and the 5.5 seconds of Blade Mail is going to allow me to get away because you have to stop hitting me and all that. But so what happens is, when there's a common problem in pubs or like in the meta, pro players, high-level players are going to find a way to address it. So let me tell you guys what exactly happened. The counter that came out to Blade Mail, which, you know, is a pretty early Blade Mail for these heroes, you know, 10, 11, 12 minutes into the game, was mid laners going Spirit Vessel. So what happens is you have this super tanky strength hero that you would lack the damage to bring down. And so what people started doing was they would Spirit Vessel you, go on you, you'd pop Blade Mail, and they would simply let the Spirit Vessel tick out. Yeah, they're going to take some damage to the Spirit Vessel Blade Mail. But then once that runs out, they Spirit Vessel you again, and they will possess the damage to kill you. And let me tell you, it works. You know, I tried my Blade Mail Heart Centaur build, and I was just dying nonstop to Spirit Vessels. And the big deal was it wasn't taking them 3 or 4 heroes to kill me. It was just like a mid hero with one support killing me with a Spirit Vessel. So the heroes that were ideal for Spirit Vessel were ones that were so tanky that the Blade Mail damage didn't really hurt them, like Earth Spirit or like Ember Spirit, because Flame Guard blocks the like return magic damage from the Spirit Vessel. A hero like Invoker that has Ghost Walk regen upon killing you. So keep in mind that Blade Mail is being purchased still, but it's more situational because of this whole interaction with Spirit Vessel. Some people are having to lean towards more like earlier BKBs or some sort of Dispel in order to deal with this. And mainly like they're not relying on Blade Mail to make them like unkillable anymore. People are still buying it on the likes of Earth Spirit, Primal Beast, these heroes that throw themselves into your face, but it's more so as a way to help them fight, not as much to help them farm. So if you're not seeing the Spirit Vessel being purchased in your games, I still stand by the fact that Blade Mail Heart on heroes like Centaur that are trying to farm with it is like absolutely broken. But if you guys are dealing with this kind of stuff in your games, then I really encourage you to buy Spirit Vessel, whether it's on a support or on a mid. Doesn't really matter which role. I've basically noticed that because of this Blade Mail Heart meta that happened, there's pretty much a Spirit Vessel in every single game. So newsflash, that's how you deal with this. And if you're dealing with it, that's the way to fix it. So another hero that's kind of cropped up in the meta that I'm seeing a shit ton of is Bristleback. I actually moved him up in my tier list and I forgot to mention him. And this kind of goes along with like these strength heroes that you can't really deal with. They're just super hard to kill. So I'd like to point out that when you're dealing with these heroes, what makes them broken is that they can walk at you and you can't really fight back. You know, Blade Mail, you can't hit them. With Bristleback, he just uses his Axe Scepter and like actually like insta-gives you, right? Because it stacks quills on you so fast. So my biggest point of contention here is that get a Spirit Vessel, and then until you have the ability to sustain through their damage, which sometimes is like 15 minutes, just ignore these guys. Tell your teammates to ignore him until you guys get that timing in order to kill him. I can't tell you how quickly people forget how to play against the likes of Bristleback. I have to tell my 8 to 9k teammates to stop fighting that guy. Please stop hitting the Bristleback. So if that's happening to me in my bracket, I assure you it's probably happening in yours. What people are building on Bristleback is they are going the Axe Scepter into the Bloodstone, and then this build is basically just countered by Spirit Vessel. Same thing, right? So Spirit Vessels, Silver Edges is the way to deal with it. And you can tell that those are more expensive items in terms of the Silver Edge. So really keep in mind that ignoring the problem and dodging the problem is actually the best way to deal with that problem until you're better equipped to address it. So for the last section of this video, we're going to be talking to you guys really quickly about my updated hero grid that I use to draft in every single game. So a lot of people ask for these screenshots. So give a brief explanation. These are heroes I'm considering if my 5 position is ranged. These are heroes I'm considering if my 5 is melee. These are heroes that heavily benefit from the 7 HP regen if they're forced to jungle early on the dire side. And then these are each of my other roles. As you can see that if it's not my main role, I have far fewer heroes in it. And then these are heroes heroes that I consider worthy of banning, or at least considering when I'm picking in the draft. So I'd like to say a quick few notes about this entire thing. That for me, 4th position being my worst position, for some of you that's something similar, you know, whatever your position is, whatever the worst one is. I have very few heroes, stick to a very small subset. It's important to play the hero well rather than it being like the perfect hero in this meta. When you guys see things that you may not know of heroes in the meta right now, the biggest one is actually Dazzle. I have been seeing mid and offlane Dazzle in my games infinitely more than I was in the past, ever since they made that ultimate cost less HP at higher levels. You see in the 7.34C right there that the health cost went from 75, 100, 125 to just a flat 75. And since it increases by 50% every time you cast it, that was a big deal. That means that you're no longer literally killing yourself as the game goes on. There's all types of builds for this hero. There's so many items that benefit you if they have lower cooldown. He's universal, so he can build pretty much everything. I've seen him in support as well. And the one rule about Dazzle is if he's alive, if he's allowed to cast spells, his teammates are gaining armor, his opponents are losing armor, and the fight just ends up being a win. So the only thing you have to be aware of if you are playing Dazzle core especially is having other cores on your team that are going to go in. They're going to initiate the fight. They're going to serve as a shield for you. Because I am realizing that this hero is going to be absolutely busted at TI, and people haven't even figured him out yet because he's like wonky. Like, people know he's good, they're playing him, but like he's not optimized by any stretch of the imagination right now. His Ags is super broken, and the fact that his abilities are so low cooldown, I don't believe in like Midas on the hero. I don't believe in like any of these like greedy builds. I believe he's purely a momentum based hero that's biggest issue is not being an easy target for the opponent. So like little survivability items, big survivability items, everything that keeps you alive plus Ags is like what this hero is all about. So what is the mid meta right now? The mid meta is bruising melee heroes or heroes that punish these bruising melee heroes, low cooldown gankers. So the 4 I've been seeing a ton of, all with great success, also getting played in competitive, are Earthshaker, Earth Spirit, Primal Beast, and Pangolier in the mid lane. And then there's heroes like Dazzle, like Queen of Pain, that kite these heroes pretty well and also dominate them in the laning phase that have been creeping up in popularity as a response to those. So the heroes that are dictating the meta are those, but then the most powerful ones against them are these ranged heroes that kite. And that just also fits the description of Invoker, who's super strong despite any of the recent nerfs. When it comes to the support role, I'm seeing one support that's focused on stunning and killing, often coming from the 4 position. So in my case, it's Shaman Nyx, but I'm seeing heroes like Lion, even heroes like Tusk. And then in the 5 position, it's almost all about saves, buffs, basically just utility in fights. So we're seeing like Tree, Venge Still, Bane's propping up, you know, all the heroes that basically buff up their team ever so slightly. Warlock, who's not on my list just because I find the hero incredibly boring, I think is still the most broken 5 of this patch, just because his upheaval is the most obnoxious spell, I believe, in the history of Dota 2. So that's an update for all 5 positions. And as things continue to evolve throughout this meta, I'll be sure to do my best to present you guys with a meta update approximately every week so that you guys can stay up to date and understand what's happening at the highest level so that you guys can be ahead of the curve when it comes to your own pubs. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time.